Good morning, everybody. I think we are ready to start. This is Leandro Taberner speaking from the Umoja training team, and I'm here together with Eric Gans from the TTS section in HQ. All right, and today's session is going to be focusing on the changes for the TB10 and TB20 roles because of this Cluster 5 implementation. So I hope that you can hear me properly and you can see my screen. I have already shared my screen with all of you. So before we move on, could anybody confirm that you can see my screen properly and that you can hear me? Is anybody out there? You can make use of the chat in case you don't have a microphone, or you can, okay, Tamara, thank you. Thank you, Viton. All right, so it seems that you can hear me and you can see my screen. All right, so for those of you that don't have a microphone, you can use the chat to ask any question or to post any kind of comment. I'll be checking the chat throughout the session and I'll try to answer all your concerns, okay, that you are writing in the chat. So as we were saying, this session is for the role of the travel processing officers, the TB10, and the new role, the TB20, and we will provide you with more details about what's the role of the TB20, the TPO non-commercial. That is a new role that has been introduced with this implementation. Okay, so let's move on. A little bit of background about this Cluster 5 implementation. So as part of this Cluster 5, we are starting to include new different travelers. So new different travelers are going to be using Umoja to travel, right? To raise their own travel request, or travel administrators will raise travel requests on behalf of them. So we have these two types of travelers, right? The national staff and the IUPs that have been granted access to the portal, to the employee self-service, to raise their own travel request. So national staff, basically, they can raise any kind of official travel request, and IUP access to the portal have been limited, and they can only raise within mission and non-commercial travel requests. Okay, so as of 15th June, Umoja is used to travel these new types of travelers, right? National staff and IUPs. Besides these two, we also have other traveler type that they don't have access to the portal, but all the travel requests will be raised on their behalf by the travel administrators. So travelers without access to employee self-service would be uniformed personnel, right? All those militaries and police that are not considered IUPs. So for you to have a little bit of background about that, militaries that are deployed in the mission using a commercial ticket are considered IUPs. All the ones that are deployed in the mission with a charter flight are uniformed personnel, and they are not considered IUPs, and they don't have access to raise their own travel request in the portal, and everything will be done on their behalf by the travel administrators. So we have uniformed personnel. We also have UN volunteers. So everything, all travel requests for UN volunteers will be done on behalf by the travel administrators, UNBs. We also have consultants, individual contractors, and other non-staff like meeting participants and fellows, judges, and all the other subgroups within the non-staff employee group. Okay, so this is the target audience for this implementation, and as of 15 June, Umoja can be used to raise travel requests for these new types of staff members or non-staff. So focusing on your role as a TPO, as a TB10 or TB20. So we are going to be talking about which are the changes, which are the new features for you as a TB10 or TB20. So first thing we need to understand is the new role, this TB20 role that has been implemented in the system to facilitate, right, the approval and the processing of all within mission non-commercial trips, right? So you can understand that now the scope for the scope of travelers. So we expect to have a lot more travel requests coming from all these new traveler categories, and but DFS understand that most of the trips for national staff, for UMBs, for consultants, and even for uniform personnel are going to be mainly within mission and non-commercial. Okay, so in order to facilitate the processing of those within mission non-commercial trips, a new TPO role has been introduced and is the TB20 role. So this TB20 role will mainly deal with these numerous trips, okay, the numerous trips for within mission and non-commercial. All right, so TB20 will be able to review and approve trips within these two travel categories, so official travel and uniform personnel travel. So it will be mainly, so as a TB20, you will only see trips belonging to these two travel categories. So for example, for TB20s will not be able to review and approve entitlement travel or HR travel. So TB20 is only allowed to review within mission non-commercial trips belonging to official travel or uniform personnel travel. And as we were saying, the TB20, it's they will be able to check trips, or the trips that will appear in the work center will be any trip that doesn't include any commercial leg, okay, any leg with a commercial ticket. Okay, so mainly the ones that are considered commercial are commercial aircraft, the mode of transportation 01 and 07 rail, but there are other missions that could have other agreements, okay, to have, for example, to have bus, okay, as mode of transportation, and they can have other tickets coming from the vendors, okay, for bus as a commercial ticket. But basically, the mode of travel that are considered commercial are aircraft and rail. Okay, so if a trip has any leg with any of these two modes of travel, it will be considered commercial, and it will go to the TB10 instead of to the TB20. Okay. Remember that you can use the chat for questions or comments. Okay, so this is the list of different modes of travel, and this is the, so as a travel administrator or as a traveler, in the itinerary, will indicate the mode of travel. So basically, commercial aircraft and rail are going to be the ones that will be considered commercial and will require review and approval by the TB10 rule. All right. So can you still hear me? Because Amir is saying in the chat that he cannot hear me. What about the others? Are you still there? Okay, thank you, Vivian. So I think you can hear me. Thank you, Regina. All right. So yeah, thank you for confirming. And if you need any clarification regarding any of the topics we are just talking about, just make use of the chat. Okay. So I can see that most of you are connected. So feel free to use the chat, or we are not that many. We are only 11. So you can also unmute your microphone and ask any question. We are not that many, and you can use and intervene at any point in time. Okay, so let's move ahead. So for TB20s, in the estimated cost screen, there are going to be some costs that will not be allowed, basically. So the airfare ticket cost, transaction fee, so all these fees will not be allowed, right, for the TB20. Remember, TB20 only applies for non-commercial tickets, so these expenses, right, these costs will not be available for TB20s. Okay, and they will become available if if they in the itinerary you indicate any mode of travel that is commercial. All right. So this is nothing new for TB10s and TB20s. So we are only having this new TB20 role. And also in the screen for TB20, this ticket to be issued through. In case of TB20s, it will always be defaulted to ticket not provided by the UN. So they are not going to be self-ticket or commercial travel provider. So the only option available for the TB20 are going to be ticket not provided by the UN. And in the estimated cost, service providers, so all these fields that TB10s usually are asked to indicate, so which is going to be the travel vendor, which is going to be the itinerary, the carrier, and the class of service that mainly applies to the commercial ticket, is not going to be mandatory for TB20s. All right. So remember that as a TB10, if you are purchasing a ticket, you are forced to indicate the travel vendor, the travel vendor that will be purchasing the ticket, the itinerary, IATA codes, the carrier, and the class of service. So these fields are not required anymore for TB20s, for non-commercial tickets. And also the quotation and the approve and award button will become disabled. Sure. So yeah, please, Eric.
Yes, I just wanted to add that the button is no longer active, so it's disabled for all users, not just TB20.
Okay, thank you, Eric, for clarifying. So this quotation, it's no longer available in the system, and the the distinction between approve and award, right? So these two options, the difference is the notification, right, for the vendor about the tickets. By the way, how many of you are new TPOs? So how many of you are were not performing the role of the TPO before 15th June? I want to understand how many new people, because if you were playing the role of the TB10, the process is going to be mainly the same for you. So we have, okay, at least one person that is brand new in this TPO role. Okay, thank you. Any other feedback? Any other one wants to say something? Okay, so we have at least two people that are new in this TPO role, and I suppose that you have been mapped with this new TB20 role, right? With the role for reviewing and approving within mission non-commercial, right? So as part of this implementation, as there are going to be a bunch more, a lot more trips coming from different travelers, but they are going to be mainly non-commercial and within mission. Missions are setting up new groups of people that will review and approve these non-commercial within mission trips. Okay, so I suppose that that new people that are being mapped are receiving this TB20 role. So for TB20, the process is easier because there is no ticket involved, and there is no need to contact the vendor to request for the ticket. Okay, so the process for TB20 is similar but slightly easier. Okay, so we've discussed a little bit the process for TB20. All right, so the idea is that later on we will see also how that looks in the system, and we wanted to discuss a little bit more about the changes for uniform personnel, right? Because for uniform personnel we have different type of travel categories. So uniform personnel, we have one travel category to deploy or to repatriate the uniform personnel, right? So this travel category, it's raised always on behalf by the travel administrator UPs, and normally it will go to TB10s, right? Because normally the deployment and repatriation always involve a commercial ticket, so it will go to the TB10s, and here is where we have the concept of the group travel, and this group travel is basically the new thing that is going to be new for existing TPOs, and we want to discuss a little bit about this group travel concept. Also, shipment request can be linked to this travel request, to this group travel request, and then we have the expense reports that can also be linked to for deployment and repatriation travel. So besides deployment and repatriation travel, we have within mission and non-commercial travel that can be raised by the IUP themselves, but remember, only for within mission and non-commercial. So all the travel requests raised by the IUP themselves, they will always go to the TB20 role, to the TPO non-commercial, because they are going to be always non-commercial. If the IUP needs to go outside mission area with a commercial ticket, the travel request will be raised on behalf by the travel administrator, and in this case, if there is a commercial ticket, it will go to the TB10. If there is a commercial ticket, we said that the TPO reviewing that process will be always the TB10. Okay, the TPO commercial, the existing TPO. Okay, then there's gonna be travel request and expense report linked to the travel request that will be submitted by the travel administrator. All right. So before we move ahead, any questions so far? I don't want to only talk about the presentation, so I also want to show you a little bit your work center. Okay, so this is an example of a work center, okay, for a TPO, and from here you can, if the travel request, all the travel requests that are pending approval by the TPO will appear in your work center. Okay, and from here you will see the different travel requests that are pending approval by the TPO. Okay, so let me log into the training environment. So this is training environment, and just let me log in as a TPO, and I want to show to you the your work center. Okay, so depending of if you are a TPO non-commercial or if you are a TPO commercial, the list of trips that will appear in your work center will be one or another one. Okay, so let me log in the training environment as a TPO. Okay, so for the ones that are new, the ones that you already used to perform the TPO role, this is not going to be nothing new. The ones that are new, you will have to go to the Travel Claims Officer tab, and from there you can access, right? You can access different work center. So basically, if you are the TPO, you are involved in approving travel requests, right? So you will basically use the approver work center for travel requests. So as a TPO, you are not involved in approving expense reports, right? So this one does not apply for you. So you will basically use the approver work center for travel request, and from there, if I click on the approver work center for travel request, the system will display the different trips that are pending approval or review. Okay, and in here, I can see the different details for the trips, right? So I can see here trip start date, trip end date, the travel request number, the index number of the travelers. So I can see the details and even the travel type, right? So if I make this column bigger, let me see if I can. All right. Oh. Okay, I cannot make it bigger. All right. So this travel, I mean, if I just put my mouse over the travel request, I can see that these two travel requests are official business, so they are official travel, and the travel type is official business. So I can just I can review and approve one of them by clicking on one of the line items and clicking on review and approve. And it's important. So as depending on your mapping, the list of travel requests that will appear in your work center will be one or another one. So you can be TV10 and you will see travel requests that are both commercial and non-commercial. If you have been only mapped as a TV20, you will only see the travel requests for your TPO office that are non-commercial. So the system will already filter the kind of trips that you can approve if you are only given with the TV20 rule. Okay. So once you click on the review and approve, you will be able to go through the different details indicated by the traveler or the travel administrator. So let's see if the screen loads. Okay, any comment, any question so far? Anything to add? Feel free to intervene. Okay, so we are not that many people. We are only 12. Any change or any issue you are facing so far with this implementation while we wait for the screen to load? Nothing to report. All right. Okay, so here we can see the screen. So there is no change in. I mean, as part of this implementation, there is no change. The only change would be that, for example, in this case, we are talking about a traveler that is a volunteer, right? So all the details are the same, but as a TPO, from 15 June, you will see that you will receive travel requests from different groups, right? So in this case, this travel request is for a UN volunteer having index number T0176. So all travelers in Umoja should have an index number. So without an index number, we cannot travel anybody in Umoja. So even if they are volunteers, contingents, consultants, so all of them should have an index number and should have an HR record in Umoja if we want to travel them. So we can see that we are talking about non-staff. We have the itinerary as always, and nothing changes here. All right. As we were saying before, you can see here in the itinerary the mode of travel. So depending on the mode of travel selected, the system will send the request to the TPO office that is commercial or the TPO office that is non-commercial. So what do we mean by that? So if in the itinerary we change, or the travel administrator changes the mode of travel, and instead of a commercial one they indicate a non-commercial like the UN aircraft, so if the traveler selects all the legs within a non-commercial mode of travel, the system will automatically default the travel office to non-commercial ones. What do we mean by that? So if that's the case, if the mode of travel is set up to non-commercial, the system will change automatically the travel office to non-commercial instead of the commercial one. Okay, Vivian, you're saying that you have been mapped as a TB20 role in MONUSCO. So if you have been mapped as a TB20 role in MONUSCO, you should be only receive the within mission non-commercial travel request raised by staff and non-staff in MONUSCO. So if you have been mapped with that role in MONUSCO, you should only be receiving non-commercial tickets or non-commercial trips raised by MONUSCO staff and non-staff. All right. So Vivian, if you are not receiving anything in your work center, and you know that something was raised, non-commercial trip was raised for MONUSCO, just send us an email and we'll check that. Okay. So you will see that as part of this. All right.
If I could add to that, when you're sending us the information, always provide a trip number and an index number so we can assist.
So thank you, Eric. So Vivian, yes, if you cannot see a trip number in your work center, just let us know the trip number so that we can analyze what could be the problem for that trip. All right. So these travel offices, it's you will see that from 15 June you now have, for each mission you have 2 different travel offices. So for example, for AMMIS, if we check in the system, you will see that now we have 2 different offices, one for commercial ticket and the other one for non-commercial. So TB20s are mapped to non-commercial travel offices, and TB10s are mapped to the regular TPO offices, the ones that were used before 15 June. Okay, so if all the mode of travel are non-commercial, the system will default travel office to the non-commercial one. And that's why the TB20s will be able to review and approve their travel request in their work centers. Okay, so as a TPO, nothing changes. Just make sure that in the if you're playing the role of the TB20, as we were saying, the service provider, these fields will not be mandatory any longer, as we were saying. So these fields of the service provider, itinerary, class of service, these fields are only mandatory if the ticket or if the trip is commercial. So if you are playing the TB20 role, non-commercial, you will not be asked to indicate these fields. If you are a TB10 and the ticket is and the trip is commercial, you still need to indicate the service provider, the itinerary in IATA codes, and this is important for reporting purposes. Right? Remember that there are BI reports that report on the usage, right, of the tickets based on the IATA codes. Okay, so maybe Eric, you want to add something here in the reporting for IATA codes. So it's important, if you're playing the role of the TB10, it's important that you properly fill in this field.
Yes, thank you, Leandro, for raising that point. These fields are very important, as Leandro mentioned, for capturing our carbon footprint. You know, the type of trips that we're taking, where we're going, where we're traveling to, and accurately capturing these details in this field. Okay, so it's very important as TPOs, those of us with the role of TB10, issuing commercial tickets and non-commercial as well, that we report the accurate itineraries, airports, the airport IATA codes that reflect the actual trip. Okay, so if we have a trip that we originally have indicated, I'll just use my location as an example. We tend to put NYC when we initially create the routing, and when we get the approval and it goes over to our TMC and they're issuing the ticket, they make a determination as to which airport out of New York that may have the lowest fare. So that may be JFK or Newark. So in this case, if it was JFK, as TPO, we should be going back into this field and amending it to reflect the actual airport of departure and or arrival. Okay? If we have a trip that's been approved, tickets were issued, and all of a sudden my mission gets canceled. So we still have to pay the vendor for the cost of the ticket. So in this case, we would process a partial cancellation on the request. So what we need to do as TPOs when we're processing a partial cancellation is not only click the button on the approval page that says partial cancellation to reverse all of the non-commercial expenses that have been obligated against this trip, but we must go in and indicate, accurately reflect that the trip has been canceled, that it's not taking place, so the carbon footprint is not calculated in our reporting. So as a TPO, you must go in, and if you're not aware, you need to put a dot before, at the very beginning of the trip, to cancel out any part of the trip that's taking place after the dot, right? After the period. So as TPOs, I want to stress this because otherwise what's going to happen is all of these trips that are partially canceled and not taking place are going to get captured in our BI reporting. And this is going to be, this is going to be, it's going to report a bigger number than what may actually be taking place. So it's very important as TPOs that we go in to accurately record this information here. There is a job aid on recording itineraries on the job aids page. So please, if you're unfamiliar with how to list itineraries and how to process partial cancellations, please go to the job aids page and look at this document. It's very important as TPOs because a lot of the information that we're inputting comes out after the trip takes place into BI reporting. And we need to capture all accurate information so we have accurate reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So yes, so as Eric was saying, if you need more information about how to properly record the itineraries and the IATA codes for reporting purposes, you have the job aid for that purpose. So there you can see what you are supposed to indicate in the IATA codes, for example, when a trip is amended or when a trip is cancelled, right? So here you have all the details in case you want to know what you are supposed to indicate in the IATA codes for the different trip scenarios. All right. So you have the information for the IATA codes, the validating carrier, and the class of service, and these ones only apply for the TB10, right? And also the TB20. I mean, the itinerary, even if it's non-commercial, you should also be indicating that part, right? For all the other ones, service provider, carrier, and class of service normally applies to commercial ones. Okay, so nothing, not so many changes for the approval process and the way the work center works. We want to spend a little bit more time on talking on the uniform personnel and basically on this group travel functionality. So all the other ones, the official travel approval and also the workflow, it's working in the same way as before. So you can see that the steps and roles involved to approve official travel for UMBs, for uniform personnel, for consultants is working in the same way as before. The only change is the introduction of this TB20, this non-commercial TPO role. But we need to spend a little bit this group travel functionality and how it affects the TPO role. Okay, so let's talk about the group travel, and you need to know that this group travel concept, it only applies to or when a travel request is raised to deploy or to repatriate a group of uniform personnel. So this group travel concept does not apply for official travel, not for HR, not for entitlement, only to deploy or to repatriate a group of uniform personnel. All right. Is there any person here in the audience that is TB10 in the missions? I suppose so, right? So normally the deployment and repatriation travel will normally require a commercial ticket and will be reviewed or will appear in the work centers of the TB10 role. Okay, so besides TB20, I can see that Vivian, for example, said that she's TB20. Do we have any TB10s here in the audience? Okay. You can make use of the chat, or yeah, I need to know how many TB10s we have. Right. Okay, thank you, Tamara. Anyone else is currently mapped as TB10? Thank you, Jano. Okay, so we have some TB10s. All right, so as a TB10 that you can approve both commercial and non-commercial, you need to understand how this deployment and repatriation travel works, okay? Because you might receive in your work center group travel requests, okay? So what's changing in this group travel? So basically, the whole travel request process is managed as a group, meaning that the travel administrator will create a unique group travel request to travel the entire group of uniform personnel, meaning there will be only one travel request, and in that travel request, the travel administrator will be able to include one or several uniform personnel. This group travel request process will appear as a group for the certifying officers. So once the travel administrator has submitted the group travel request, the TSA will receive and will see in the work center only one line for the entire group. So no matter if the group travel request is for 10 or for 50 uniform personnel, TSAs will only see one line, okay, in their work centers. And the same thing for you as a TPO. So you as a TPO, you will see only one line for your group travel request. Okay, so all this part, the group travel request process, is managed as a group. Okay, so let me I want to show to you how this looks like in the system. So in the travel administrator will raise the group travel request for the entire group. TSA will be able to review the group travel request as a group, and you as a TPO the same. So you will only see one line in your work center. Okay, so let me log in the training environment, and I want to show to you how that looks like into the work center. Okay, so let me use one of the users in the training environment. Okay, and even if this one is a certifying officer, the way it will the way you will see it in your work center as a TPO will be very similar. Okay, so now I'm playing the role as the certifying officer that will review the request in the work center, but the way you will see the request in your TPO work center is going to be very similar. So the thing I want to explain to you here is that in your work center you will see request. So in this work center, for example, we have 4 different travel requests, right? So we have 4, and we have 3 that are individual travel requests. So those that we can see the index number. So this column here, we can see that the last 3 travel requests are individual travel requests. And the first one, where we cannot see any index number, any traveler name, employee group, employee subgroup. So the first line corresponds to a group travel request. So in your work center as a TPO, you will have, or you will receive travel requests for individuals, right? Individual travel requests for official travel, and you will also receive group travel requests. So if we have a look at the travel type, we can see here that the first line, it corresponds to uniform personnel. So this one, it's for deployment and repatriation of uniform personnel. And the last 3 corresponds to official travel. And then if you click on a group travel request and you click on review and approve, either as a TSA or as a TPO, the details of the group will display. Right, so the details of the entire group will display, and you will be able to see which are the different travelers included in that deployment and repatriation travel for UPs. All right, so this is what I was mentioning before. So all this travel request process is managed as a group. So the TSA and the TPOs in the work center, you will only see one line for the entire group, and then when you log in and you click on review and approve, you'll be able to see the different details for that travel request. Okay. As a TPO, you need to pay special attention to the estimated cost. So the travel administrator will indicate the estimated cost of the ticket, and that estimated cost, what do you think, will be the estimated cost to travel each individual, or the estimated cost to travel the entire group? Any idea on that? Yes, do we have anybody on the other side? So we are talking here about the deployment and repatriation travel. So the travel administrator will raise the group travel request to travel or to deploy or to repatriate a group of UPs. So as a travel administrator, will they have to indicate the estimated cost for each individual or the estimated cost for the entire group? Any idea? Okay, Jano, thank you for replying. Any other one? I think you are all sleeping. I can only see people. I only see 20% of people that are kind of attentive to the session. What about the others? I need to have at least 3, 4. Okay, thank you, Aisha. So what do you think would be total amount or amount for each individual? I only got the response from Jano. Thank you, Aisha. I know you know that part. Right, so Jano and Aisha both said total amount. That's very correct. Okay, so the travel administrator will need to indicate total amount for the ticket cost. So you can see here, this is a group travel. We can see here the type of travel. So in this case, we are talking about repatriation. And in the traveler list, we can see that we are talking about 2 different travelers, right? 2 different uniformed personnel. And here we are talking about a repatriation after completion of the deployment and the name of the destination mission. So what we were saying, in the there is only, this is important, there is only one itinerary, so all the group should be having the same itinerary, okay? And while we were talking about the additional data, basically the amount for the estimated ticket, the travel administrator should be indicating the amount to travel all the travelers. So in this case, we are talking about 2 different travelers. In the estimated cost, the travel administrator should be indicating here. So this estimate provided by the travel administrator, this estimate is the estimate to travel. This estimate is the estimate to travel the entire group. And the same thing applies to you. So afterwards, if you want to, so the TPO, after talking to the vendor, will indicate the final amount, right? The final amount to travel the entire group. So in our example, so if we put 4,000, so that will be 4,000 to travel 2 different UPs, right? So after you approve as a TPO the travel request, there will be, the system will generate 2 individual TRs, right? One for each traveler. So it could be the TR. Let's say we have 170001 for traveler for UP number 1, and TR 17005. It doesn't have to be consecutive for UP number 2, right? So if we if as a TPO you indicate the final cost, it can be 4,000, or you could even change, right? After talking to the vendor, the ticket could be, instead of 4,000, it could be 5,000, right? Because you will indicate as a TPO, you will indicate the final amount. So in this case, you will indicate the final amount, and after you approve the group travel request, the system will generate two travel request numbers and will split the cost. So for the first travel request, it will put half of the price, so 2,500, and for the other travel request number, it will put the other half of the ticket. Right? So as a TPO, you need to amend the estimated cost and put the final to travel the entire group. Is that part clear? That's basically the main change for the group travel. So after you have reviewed the group travel request and you have indicated the final amount to travel the entire group, the system will generate the individual travel requests. And all the other processes, meaning the spend report process, and even if you need to do an amendment for a particular individual, all the amendments after you approve the group travel will be done for each individual TR number. And the spend report the same. The spend report will then be raised for each individual TR. All right. Okay, you are very quiet today. I don't know what happened, but no questions, no comments. So as a TPO, this is the only thing that is basically changing for you for the group travel. So you will receive in your work center travel requests for groups, and in your travel work center you will differentiate group travel request because the index number is empty, the traveler name is empty, and all the information about the traveler is empty because there are more than one travelers in that group travel. All right. What else we can say about changes for TPOs? In here you have a screenshot of the email that is sent to the travel vendor in the case of deployment and repatriation. So in here, this is the email that is automatically sent to the agency if you as a TPO, you approve a group travel request. So you can see that in this case, we have 11 different travelers. So this is just an example. And at the bottom, we'll see the details for each traveler. So index number, the name, and all the details. And even you will see here that the system has generated, after the TPO approves, there is a different travel request number for each traveler. So the travel request number for the first individual, it's ending in 96. For the second individual, it's 405743, and then all the rest are consecutive to the second one. Okay, so the vendor will receive the details of the 11 travelers and will receive the total cost, the cost that you indicated for the entire group as TPO. So in this case, ideally more than 15,000, and even the fee for the travel agency. Okay, so this is just an example of the email that is sent in the case of group travel to deploy or to repatriate a group of UPs. What else? Regarding UMBs and other non-staff, okay, so basically official travel is the main travel category for all the different travelers. Okay, so they can, UMBs, consultants, they can travel using the official travel category. They can use within mission, so basically they're going to be using within mission for most of the trips. So we expect that most trips are within mission area using non-commercial flight, but they can also travel outside mission area on training and other official travel types. And then we have some other travel categories. So R&R, it's also an option for UMBs in missions with R&R. So there will be some R&R travel request for UMBs, and HR, we will also have some HR travel, some appointment travel for international consultants. But most of the travels are going to be, most of the trips are going to be within the official travel category and basically within mission using non-commercial. Okay. And we will be sending these slides after the session. In here you have the process for official travel. So any trip within the official travel category, you have here the process. So nothing has changed. So the process remains the same. UMBs and non-staff, they don't have access to the portal, and everything is done on behalf by the travel administrator, but the process remains the same. So the approval of the travel request is done by the certifying officers and by the TPOs. All right. The only difference is that now we have the TPO non-commercial, the TB20, that will deal with non-commercial trips, and then the ESPN report is again with the same process raised by travel administrators, and in case there are additional expenses, it will have to be reviewed by certifying officers and then approved by the travel claims processors, this more finance travel related role. Okay, so nothing has changed in the official travel workflow process. The same thing for R&R for UMBs. So we said that UMBs can also travel on R&R. They are also entitled for R&R, and nothing has changed on the steps and roles involved in the R&R process. Okay, so remember that we have different, depending on mission, we have different process for R&R. We have missions that provide free UN transportation to the R&R destination, and here you have, we have the job aid explaining how this works for R&R with free UN transportation. We have also the lump sum option. Okay, so you as a TPO, you are involved in the process of the lump sum option, right? So you are the one providing the amount for the lump sum. So if you're a mission that you use the lump sum option for R&R, here you have the link for the job aid on how you are involved in the lump sum process for R&R, but basically it's the same process as you currently do for international staff. So nothing has changed. The only different thing is that UMBs will be also managed in the same way as for international staff. Okay, and the third option is the ticket that you have here. Also the job aid. Okay, and lastly for HR travel, remember that is for consultants. For the appointment travel, you are so now Umoja can be used to raise the appointment travel request for consultants, and you will be involved in purchasing the tickets to onboard the consultants, as you are doing today for any other HR travel for international staff. Okay, so the process remains the same. You have here a summary of what you already know. All right. So questions, comments. I mean, there isn't the thing you need to keep in mind is that there are not so many changes, only a few things on the group travel request for uniformed personnel and the introduction of this TB20 non-commercial TPO role. Okay. All the other things remain the same as you are doing currently. So no major changes, but we wanted to have this session with you to brief you a little bit with what are the new features that have been implemented from 15 June. Okay. Any question, comments? Please, Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Leandro. I see out of the attendees here some familiar names. I hope some or all of you are aware of the monthly BTCs that UNHQ TTS holds regarding travel policy and system-related issues. So I just want to stress the importance of participating in those sessions on a monthly basis, because this is how, as a travel community, that we come together to understand our policies and harmonize our policy and our procedures that we carry out in our daily work. So if you do already, thank you. If you don't, you should. If you say you do and you don't, I do have the list of attendee names, so I will be aware of who is attending and who is not. So please, just participate in the monthly VTCs that travel carries out every month. This reinforces the presentation just given by Leandro, and will further enhance your ability as a TPO. So I would appreciate your participation in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. All right, so we only have one question from Jano. So maybe it's about the itinerary and what's the character we need to use in order to record the itineraries. Jano, remember that you have the job aid explaining specifically the way you need to record the itineraries. Maybe Eric can say a little bit more on that. It should be a dash or a hash. I mean, it's a. So we can go to the. All right. So basically, you need to use this character, right, Jano, to indicate the itinerary, right? So basically, it's you need to be using this character to split the different locations, okay? And as Eric was saying before, you should be amending that IATA codes when you know more. So at the beginning, you will be indicating the city, but afterwards, when you know the airport, you should be updating that to amend it and to make it specific enough so that the reports in BI can be run. Okay? But here you have the different details on how you should be populating the itinerary in the IATA codes. So if there is no further questions, we can close the session. So thank you everybody for attending. We'll be here in the RSC for a few days more. Okay, so you can always contact us either by mail or by phone. So I'll be writing in the chat our telephone contacts in case you need to call us directly. Okay, so and thank you for attending, and we'll keep in touch.